welcome into the Gaming Discourse. I'm Tyler Frater alongside Richard Day the Cruz.
Hello.
And Chief Engineer Lieutenant Commander Connor Frater.
Hello.
It is Monday, June 12th, 2023. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at the Gaming Discourse. Go to our YouTube channel, YouTube/Gaming Discourse. A new review up, Everspace 2. It's very good. I gave it an A. Go check out the review. Before we get into stuff today, in light of certain events and some stuff going around, we kind of just wanted to, I don't know what to call this, just make a statement. We were going to discuss a story, and then it was like, I don't know, do we really want to discuss this? Do we really want to break it down into detail, or should we just say something off the top of the show? So I think we'll just say something off the top of the show. All of us here, pro LGBTQ, we're all supporters of trans people, of gay people. Trans women are women, trans liberation now, which is a ContraPoint saying that I think is pretty useful. And yeah, I guess really that's all that's needed to say. It's not to say anything grand or to say anything spectacular or anything like that, but I don't know. I just figured this would be a nicer way of handling something than going down just a darker hole that is not a lot of fun and kind of frustrating. Is there anything you guys would like to say before we move on?
No.
It's easier to accept and love than hate, in my opinion.
Okay. Besides that, we have a good show, because today's show is a bunch of fun stuff. We're not, well, mostly. Well, no, it's pretty much all fun stuff.
It's all fun.
We're gonna talk about trailers. We're gonna get into the Jeff Keighley's game show. We're gonna get into the Xbox showcase. Thank you very much, Phil. We're gonna get into Rob Fahey had an opinion column for gamesindustry.biz that I vehemently disagree with, and we're gonna break it down. And that'll be at the end.
Doesn't sound fun.
Well, it'll be a fun exercise in rigorous debate with nobody but the notes in front of me. So let's talk about what games we've been playing, guys. Okay, like I said, I posted the Everspace 2 review. Everspace 2 is very good. I enjoyed it a lot. As I discussed in the review, things frayed at the edges for me. So what I mean by this in Everspace 2 is, like, in the first Everspace, all of your equipment and stuff was super important. So, like, for example, and this is the example I use in the video, there's an enemy type in Everspace and Everspace 2 called an outlaw drone carrier. And it's this big ship that ejects drones, and the drones heal its shields. And you have to destroy each drone to drop its shields, and then you can attack it. Now, the difference with this ship is its shields, usually with an enemy shields, if you just shoot at it, you can destroy the shields, right? Okay. But with this one, to destroy its shields, you have to shoot the drones. So it's impervious to damage until you take out all the drones.
The drones are what are creating the shields? Yep. Is that what you said?
Yep.
Okay. Right.
So what you have to do is you shoot the drones, you shoot the ship. But the drones regenerate really quickly, right? So its shields go back up before you can destroy it. Okay. So in the first Everspace, what's really useful are these things called the corrosion missiles, because they corrode at a target's hull after you've hit it with the missile, so it corrodes away. So with outlaw drone carriers, when I play Everspace, I'll always carry a corrosion missile with me, because I'll take out the drones, hit it with a corrosion missile, and then even once the drones bring its shield back, the health still drops because it's corroding away, and it'll die even with its shields up, because the corrosion missile takes all the health away, right? So that's a really important tactical thing in Everspace. In Everspace 2, you still have your secondary weapons like corrosion missiles and whatnot, but they're just not as important. Because, like, I think this is for a few reasons, but basically weapons that just deal a ton of damage are going to be more useful regardless of the situation. So dumbfire rockets that just spew out tons of rockets, if you are close enough to hit all those rockets, then that's like a more practical use. Okay. So the combat is like is not as dynamic in Everspace 2, and that was one of my disappointments. But other than that, still very good. One of my favorite games this year. Please go check it out. Another game that I just finished today and I started writing a review of was Amnesia: The Bunker, which is the latest Amnesia game from Frictional Games.
That's out now, so you can kind of talk to it.
It's been out for a couple days. Yeah.
Okay.
So I enjoyed Amnesia: The Bunker, but I don't know. Some part of me kind of feels disappointed I have not unpacked my feelings and like organized them in any useful way yet. And I'm not even sure what grade I'm going to give it. I have to like go through and write more and figure out really how I feel. But basically, if you have played Penumbra, which was Frictional's first game.
Oh, that was from them too, huh?
You've kind of played Amnesia the Bunker, which is somewhat disappointing because it doesn't feel new. It just feels like a well-executed version of something very old. Basically how the game works, and I don't think this is a spoiler because this is kind of the entire game, is you're stuck in a bunker, obviously. Set in World War I, there's a monster, you're in a bunker. Okay, that's the premise. In the middle of the bunker is your safe room. So think Resident Evil, right? You save your game there, and you have a chest where you store your extra resources. That's where your storage, whatever. And then once you leave that middle room, there are hallways connecting other large areas of the bunker. So, for example, you may have to unlock a door. To unlock a door, you have to get a key. So you have to go to the prison section of the bunker. You go to the prison section. The key is behind a grate that you have to take off the wall with a wrench. So it's like, well, where's the wrench? The wrench is in the armory section of the bunker. So you have to go to this bunker, and the whole time you have to avoid being killed by the monster. You go over here, you grab the wrench, and that's basically the entire game. So it's avoiding the monster. It's trying not to make noise. Maybe the most important thing in the game is the generator. So the monster does not like light. If you can go out in the dark, it's almost pitch black, and sneak around, but the monster is much more likely to appear. Actually, it's guaranteed to appear. And it's really hard to avoid the monster because the bunker is all hallways. So there's not a lot of places where you can like okie doke it, like around a corner or something. So it's going to be like linear hallways in a lot of places. So you have to keep the generator on. The generator uses fuel. So as you're running around the bunker, completing objectives and looking for things, you have to collect fuel. You take it back to your save room. You put it in the generator, and then you can turn the generator off and on. Once you turn it on, the fuel starts to tick away. You have a watch on you, and that's how you keep track of how much fuel is left. So as soon as you start the generator, your watch starts going, and your watch tells you like you've got this much more time until the generator runs out of fuel. And it turns on all the lights and stuff, and you have to go and complete and find the things you need to find. If you still make noise, the monster will come out in the light, but it's not as aggressive. So that's very similar to Penumbra, where Penumbra, there were levels where it was like you're in a mine, and you see a map on a wall, and that's the map of the mine, and you kind of have to memorize where to go. And then, just like in Amnesia the Bunker, you go to different rooms to get things. You go over here to find a fuse. You go over here to find dynamite. You go to the middle room to blow up a wall that you walk through, and that's how you complete the level.
Right.
So yeah, there were some really cool moments, but they steered away from sort of the spectacle of Amnesia Rebirth, where in Amnesia Rebirth they went not surreal, but they got more into like their universe. Their fictional universe, where it's like the monsters are coming from this other universe thing, or I'm not really sure. I don't remember, but
other dimension type thing.
Yeah, other dimension type thing. And there was this one part in Amnesia Rebirth that's really cool, where you see a character but she's out in the distance, and she's been infected with the thing that turns people into monsters, and she's starts to run at you really creepily, and then she screams, and then she's sprinting, and you have to run away from her. So it's this really cool spectacle, this really cool moment. They've gone away from that. It's all emergent gameplay, and it reminds me very much of Alien Isolation. But the problem is, I think Alien Isolation is better, and I think it handles the whole monster thing better. So yeah, I'm gonna have to. I may play it again a little bit. I had fun with it. The one big drawback is you can only save your spot in that safe room. So you save your game by lighting a lantern. You light the lantern, you saved, you go out to do a thing. Let's say you spend 15 minutes, you find fuel, you find bandages, you find all this stuff, and then you spring a trap, because there are traps in the bunker. You spring a trap, and the monster hears it, so the monster comes running out and kills you. all that time you just spent and all those resources you lost because you can only save your game at the safe room. So things can get quite frustrating. And that's one of those design things that Alien Isolation was a little bit like that too. But that's one of those design things that people debate because it's like your actions and decisions matter and your mistakes matter. But at the same time, it's like, but it's just not fun because I'm not scared of the monster. I just have anxiety about having to redo a bunch of menial tasks. And that's not scary. That's just annoying. So anyway, so I'll unpack that. I'll write a review. That's all I have to talk about for now.
I wonder if that's like Penumbra was their first like series. It looks like.
Yes. Yeah.
I wonder if it's this weird thing to where like they went back to doing something that was similar to Penumbra, but instead of taking what they learned throughout all the years of developing games, they just not necessarily rested on their laurels, but they just did what they do best. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It just kind of like they got comfortable and was just like, we've already made this before. Let's just make it again, you know.
It doesn't feel like...
I'm not saying it feels lazy.
Sure.
I'm just saying it feels like they didn't, you know.
But it's just not... It doesn't feel new. It feels like, oh, okay, I've played this before.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It works. But like even Alien Isolation, I think had more going for it. When I think of a lot of the ideas they recycled in... Soma. They recycled a lot of ideas in Soma. Soma was also like had a much more deeper narrative. Amnesia the Bunker does not have a very deep narrative. You learn what happened, you find diary pages and whatnot, but there isn't a whole lot of dialogue. There isn't a single... Well, there's scenes, but there's no like cutscenes or anything. So anyway, I'll unpack, write a review. It's only like I completed the game in like 8 or 9 hours. It's not a long game.
Okay.
Quick turnaround, and hopefully I'll have a review out pretty soon. Richard, why don't you tell us what you've been playing?
I have not been playing a ton, but I've been going more into Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. I'm hacking away at certain things. I've decided to like, okay, I want to do this thing. I'll go over there and go do it. I want to do this thing. I'll go over there and go do it. And I'm in the middle of I think it's no, it's not the Fire Temple. Lightning Temple? The Gerudo Desert. I think that's lightning.
Yeah, that would be lightning.
I think that's lightning. Yeah, that's lightning because what's her name has lightning. Yeah, I forgot her name, unfortunately. But I wish they found a way to in Breath of the Wild. So you were told the story in fragments, and you would find these fragments out of order depending on which places you visited.
Yes.
And I felt like that really worked because when you wake up as Link at the beginning of the game, you already know what has happened and you already know the devastation that was caused by what went on. So I feel like learning the stuff that happened before that is not necessarily inconsequential, but the effect of learning things kind of had a bigger like I guess the way you'd piece things together had a bigger effect on me personally.
Oh, okay.
How you would go about it. In this one, since there's only one thing that we're trying to learn, and it's what happened to like where Zelda is at. There are some very major things that you will find out very early, depending on which landmarks you find and remembrances. And I'm worried that when I get to the end, it's not going to have that big of an effect on it if I was told the story chronologically.
I know what you're saying.
So,
yeah, I think I agree with you.
Yeah.
Because one of the big twists in the game is something you can find out if you happen to go to one of the tier places, the first thing. Mm-hmm. And a couple of weeks ago when I was like, I think I know what's going on with, and I thought I was like a genius. I didn't really, but I was like, I think I know what's going on with Zelda. And then I found a cutscene that was like, this is what's happening to Zelda. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know?
And I don't know if they're supposed to create some sort of particular type of feeling. And I hope I still get something out of it. But I would hope that they had found a way to not designate those spots for specific memories rather than just as you gain each one, it will tell you it chronologically.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, and there are games that do things like that, right?
There
it's
are.
like where you find, no matter what order you find a thing in, it's always going to be
if
like
value equals X, get Y.
Right,
exactly.
yeah. But I do understand the open nature of this game. To just like literally just go do whatever you want. Like get the hell out of here. And I respect it, but I think that the story, well, I need to finish all of it first. But as of now, the way it's unfolding, it's not really affecting me like I would probably want it to. I've been exploring a lot of the depths, and that is quite an empty place.
You think so? I have not been down there a whole lot.
Yeah, like...
How many maps have you found?
What do you mean?
Have you found maps?
Oh, I didn't know there's maps.
So yeah, I think one of the points of the depths is that you find these treasure maps, and an X appears.
Oh.
And then but there's no like, it doesn't tell you, because the underground, you don't have any indication of what the terrain looks like.
Yes, yeah.
On the map or even when you're there because it's all dark. So it's just like X. I have found a lot of them in the Sky Islands.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
Like you'll kick open a chest and it'll be like treasure map, ding, and then it puts an X on the map.
I have not gone. It's so cumbersome to travel in the sky. I just don't.
Oh man, you should. It's cool.
I mean, I have the tool. Obviously, I have the tools needed, but
we
also
don't want bomb
I'm just
threats.
like
10 out of 10.
Yeah, for sure. So I just in the depths they have light trees that when you activate them, they just light up everything. So I just go and do those just so I don't have to deal with the darkness anymore.
Okay, yeah.
But I did defeat a Gleelock, the 3-headed dragon.
Oh man, I have seen those and just noped out.
I defeated an ice one, and he was fun to fight. You have to utilize some of your tools, which is clever. It's very clever. But I was very happy because the last couple of hits I had on him, I ended up stunning him from a headshot.
Nice.
And the way he fell down made him fall off the side of the mountain and roll down the hill, and he took residual damage.
Oh, nice.
Like,
cool.
So I was like, yes, and I just parachuted down there and I grabbed all of his stuff. So.
Some ancient dragon rolling down the.
Yeah, that's exactly how that happened.
Like that scene in Kung Fury. What a cute baby.
Oh,
just rolls
Kung Pao.
Kung Pao. Yeah. What was I gonna? So I've played a little bit more of Tears of the Kingdom. I've come around to liking it a lot more.
I do enjoy. I really enjoy playing it.
I was enjoying it, but I was like, this is fun. But I've come around to liking it a lot more.
Yeah, I do enjoy playing it, and I do as of now, when I'm sitting down, what am I going to play? Oh, I'll play Zelda. Like I have that feeling a lot, and it is great. But yeah, there's just small things that I could complain about, but it's just personal preferences more than anything.
Sure. Okay.
But yeah, that's it. That's all. I just been playing Zelda.
Connor, is there anything you'd like to share?
I am halfway through a Civ game that the only victory condition is score.
Oh wow! Okay.
I am 750 turns through the game.
Wow!
Yeah,
man!
Okay.
Holy crap!
I'm playing as Tamar of Georgia, so it's a religious-focused game. But again, only score matters in the end.
Oh
yeah. But currently, I am in the lead by just over 200 points.
You'll have to keep us keep us
It'll
tracked.
probably be done by next.
Well, then we want a full report on our desk, or your badge, your Civ 6 badge
by next Monday.
Okay, let's hit the news. Thanks for listening. If you like our content, please consider subscribing or leaving a like and comment. You can find us at patreon.com/thegamingdiscourse. And our tiers are $2, $4, $7, and $10 and include getting your name in the video credits, early access, and access to our Discord server.
Summer Game Fest happened with the Xbox show.
Hey!
All right.
Yay! Some trailers that were released. Avowed by Obsidian, coming out 2024. Starfield 2023 by Bethesda. Fable by Playground Games, no release date yet. Toxic Commando by Saber and Focus Home Interactive, coming out 2024. Star Wars Outlaws by Ubisoft, same year. Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2, Ninja Theory. Star Trek Infinite, Tyler's excited about this one. Being made by Paradox, so it's gonna be okay at first, but then a year down the line after DLCs, it's gonna be the best Star Trek grand strategy game on the market.
It's gonna be phenomenal.
Do words. Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown by Ubisoft. 33 Immortals by Thunder Lotus. Payday 3 by Starbreeze, which Payday 2 is getting more DLC while that game is being developed.
Oh, yeah, of course it is. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
That game has so much. Okay.
And Star Trucker by Monster and Monster.
Yeah. Have you guys seen footage of Star Trucker?
I have not.
It's Euro Trucker in space.
Hell yeah.
That's all it is.
Okay, cool.
Okay. And then
it seems like it'd be a bit easier because there's no mountains or anything to go around. You can just beeline it to your objective.
Exactly. There's a quote from you have to give yourself a Spency.
During press event, Phil Spencer said, quote, I often get asked, how are you doing? I'll give people who harken back to the Xbox 360 years as being the heyday of Xbox. But for you to understand, our business right now, from a revenue standpoint, is about twice the size it was during the Xbox 360 generation. We have never had more Xbox players than we have right now, which we feel is the right scorecard for us right now in terms of number of creators and number of players. We announced last quarter from Microsoft was our biggest non-holiday gaming quarter in the history of us being in the gaming business. We're going to do $1 billion in PC revenue this year for the first time ever for us at Microsoft.
Okay, a lot of interesting stuff. So yeah, let me go on for an hour and a half about Star Trek Infinite, the possibilities.
Sure.
No, it's okay.
So it heavily looks like it's being developed off of a mod from Stellaris.
Yeah, still new Star Trek New Horizons.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I guess they've probably, the modders have probably said whether or not they've been incorporated or not. I wanted to ask, Connor, did you ever play Prince of Persia?
No.
Because I never played Prince of Persia. Richard, do you want to give your take on the Prince of Persia thing?
This looks fucking awesome.
I thought the trailer looked cool, but people weren't down with the character.
Because he isn't white.
Is that really why?
I mean, that's what the reasonings I saw in certain comment threads.
Is it the same character from the original?
No.
I know nothing about Prince of Persia.
It's never the same character. He's always the prince, but it's amalgamous. Like the prince from the 1980s version of Prince of Persia is not the same prince from Sands of Time. Like, it's kind of like Zelda. It's the same story, not the same story every told, but it's Prince of Persia every time, but different main character, different.
Okay, so
if that makes sense.
Okay, because I thought the trailer looked cool as hell.
And it is different from the Prince of Persia Jake Gyllenhaal movie.
Yes,
Or it's Jake Gyllenhaal being the Prince of Persia.
I heard that there was some controversy over it, mostly how he looked. I thought he looked awesome. I thought the game looks awesome.
I thought the trailer looked like a side-scrolling Hades.
Yeah.
I thought looked awesome.
And the comments, I didn't really get much from the article, but in the comments, somebody was like, well, it's probably because he doesn't look like this. And they posted every single Prince of Persia main character. All white guys. So
I can understand. I don't know. That may be the case.
It could be the case, but I don't know, because it's not like
I don't know either.
No one's ever going to give us a straight answer on something like that.
Sure. Yeah. I could understand, just in general, I understand wanting continuity with certain things.
Sure.
I'm not saying this is that. I'm just saying in general, like Klingons, for example. It's like Klingons in the 90s are awesome. There's no reason to redo Klingons like Discovery did. That always really bothered me. And they also made at least in the first season, they were really boring and shit. And then they redid it and it doesn't matter, blah, blah, blah. But the point is, the coherency of a story or the look of something, I understand. But I don't really know if it's that. I don't. That probably doesn't apply here because the trailer did look really awesome.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, Prince of Persia is not based off a singular thing. It's just like, oh, you're a prince in this, and you're trying to save the princess, and then it changed. Then at Sands of Time, you were kind of like a pseudo scoundrel who gains
like an Aladdin
who gains a dagger of time, and so you have to save the princess and stuff like that.
I did not watch anything on Starfield. I'm in full media blackout mode with Starfield, but man, I was. So you guys, I've told you guys this before, like I told you.
Yeah.
I'm making a game. Oh, what's it about? You lay bricks. Oh, wow, that sounds really boring. Yeah, but you do it on Jupiter. I will pre-order 5 copies because it takes place in space.
What is it?
The brick destroys you in a split second, and
your arm is ripped off.
But I mean, do you want to talk about? You can't tell me anything that's in it, but can you?
I can't tell. I can tell you that from its first showing, like from its first trailer and its first like gameplay showing. I'm not going to say this game looks night and day, but I definitely watched this trailer and very much felt a sense of, yeah, I'm going to play this. Okay. Like this looks really good.
Exciting.
And there were things in there that I wasn't expecting to see. Which, I can't go. Like I wasn't expecting to see like space flight or space fighting. Like flight.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I wasn't expecting to see that, and it's there, and it looks competent enough. Like, I mean, I've played other space flight games, and it looks, fun. The worlds look really good, and it looks like there's actually stuff to do there.
You'll have to, because I remember in the announcement trailer, things looked grounded. They looked much more Elite Dangerous or Star Citizen rather than like Everspace, where everything's like bright, colorful, and fun. It was much more like grounded and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, no. There's lots more colors.
There's lots more colors.
Lots more fun. And there's like, oh yeah, like this planet or this city on this planet is like pseudo sci-fi Western themed, and like there's like stuff like that. It was more impressive than I expected it to be.
Okay, and that's gonna be a big game for Xbox.
And so that in turn is making me more excited. So
I think the biggest takeaway from the Starfield trailer is the return of the adoring fan from
I did
Oblivion.
see that. Yeah.
Man, that voice does not fit that look and everything. And I'm like, oh boy.
No, if you're gonna use that face, you need to have, or if you're gonna use that voice, you need to have the potato faces from Oblivion.
For sure.
That's one of the very first internet game memes I remember is that video. I'm sure we've all seen it of the guy who takes the fan way up on the edge of like a mountain in Oblivion and like hits him in the face with an arrow.
Oh yeah.
And like follows it down, but he can't die or whatever.
Yeah.
So the guy like
he always comes back. Yeah.
Oh, he always comes back. Yeah. I thought Avowed looked really cool.
Avowed looked very cool.
Aora is a great world. It's really. I hope the writing is still there. Obsidian never lets you down with the writing, it feels like.
Yeah.
They always. So I expect that however this ends up shaking up, if it really is like the writing of Pillars with the gameplay medieval version of Outer Worlds, that'd be amazing. But I really hope they keep with that writing, because Obsidian's writing is just insanely good. Is it? I don't know about like Obsidian's team, but do they have like a core set of Josh Sawyer? Was he used to be at Obsidian? I don't think he is anymore.
I am not good with names. Coming from Obsidian specifically.
Josh Sawyer was the lead for New Vegas.
Yeah, this is something that I'm sure lots of people know offhand, but I don't. Fable, that was a fun trailer, but we still don't have any release date on that. Yeah. And this was sort of a recurring thing, because this is a lot of Xbox is getting a lot of good press. Fable looked good. What was their other big game that Senua's Saga, that looked good. But these are games that we also had trailers for like 10 years ago. Not really 10 years ago, but like when the Series S and Series X were announced, right?
Yeah.
And so we're getting new trailers for them, and it's looking good.
Yeah.
But it's like there's no clear.
Fable was unfortunate because it sounds like I think there was something halfway through a year or two back that they had to restart again.
Yeah, it's been in like development hell for a while, hasn't it? I don't know if development hell may be too dramatic.
Yeah. I'm very excited to see Richard Ayoade as a villain.
Is that how you pronounce his name?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, because I've only ever read it. And so when I read it, it's like, I can't say it.
No,
Moss.
Yeah.
Moss.
and a villain at that who's humorous, who's like, doesn't seem to be a villain because he wants to kill everybody. He's just like, whatever, I'm done with you. So that's great.
Were there there were like a couple not meta jokes that you have had to have played the Fable games to get in that one. Specifically the chicken thing.
Yeah, the chicken was the biggest one.
Yeah. Okay.
But also probably when he was talking about heroes and they're like, hey, and then one of them was just like wanker, and you're like, whoa. So
yeah, because like people in the villages would react to you or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. If you were good or bad, and or if
you did something repetitiously, like they would give you names because of that. So
okay. Toxic Commando I thought looked awesome. It looked like a generic co-op zombie shooter, but if a generic co-op zombie shooter is done well and has a little bit of personality, has some fun gameplay,
I'm with you on that one.
I'll spend 25 hours, 30 hours going around,
why not,
shooting up some zombies. And of course, it doesn't hurt that I don't know what John Carpenter's level of involvement is in it. I should have looked it up, but it's cool to like see John Carpenter's Toxic Commando.
Yeah.
Because he's one of those guys that a lot of celebrities, I don't know. No, it's probably not accurate. There are people that talk about video games, but it's like, but do you really play? I don't know. But John Carpenter has always been a guy that it's like, he probably actually plays.
He talks a lot on Twitter. Yeah, he does. So
yeah. Okay, and then Star Wars Outlaws. This is another one. Ubisoft is getting a lot of positive reception for Star. I watched a little bit of gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
Looked interesting. I don't know. I'll have to see more. I know it's set right after Empire Strikes Back, but before Jedi, which is a cool place to set a game because the Empire's still there, so you don't have to like figure out weird how do you write things in and out and stuff like that. And a lot of major characters are still there.
You have the potential at that time point to portray the Empire as a little more desperate too.
Mm-hmm. Which would be cool.
Which is very cool because, they probably see that their time is kind of like coming. I mean, not the Emperor himself, but like some of the lower generals and stuff are probably recognizing,
Oh, that's interesting. That is an interesting thought.
Yeah, so
I hope they do that.
I don't know if it was a stream I watched. I thought it looked janky as hell.
Did you? Really?
Yeah, like I saw a lot of stuttering and I saw a lot of like weird, weird movements. But it could have been, like I said, it could have been the stream I was watching. But also, I guess I was kind of surprised at all the positive feedback I've been seeing because it looked good, but it didn't it just looked like everything else to me. Yeah. I do enjoy that is one thing Star Wars does, though. Anybody who creates a Star Wars story, they always find a way to make a really cute or charming side
little
thing
sidekick
that they can sell. Yes.
Yeah.
It's like a rule, which I have to admit, I rolled my eyes a little bit because I was like, why do we have to? You know what? I don't want a cute sidekick. I want a sidekick that's a horrible person. I want
where's
KTSO?
I want a sidekick that will pull your arms out of your sockets because it lost at a card game.
Yeah,
exactly. Who's clearly not cute. Chewbacca's not cute at all. Okay,
Try to say something there, Ty?
So Star Trek Infinite. Can I speak?
Oh, real quick. I just wanted to tack on just to the last bit of Star Wars.
Go ahead.
Like I said before the podcast, I'm glad we're getting a Star Wars game that's not Jedi focused, at least main character wise. God, I hope she doesn't become like a secret Jedi at the end. But I am disappointed that it's Ubisoft.
Those are very good points. Because we haven't had a non-Jedi focused Star Wars game. I mean, like this.
Yeah.
In a long time. We had Star Wars Squadrons, but Squadrons is like a
2.
flight combat game. Mm-hmm. But Battlefront's a multiplayer shooter.
Yeah.
Not like this kind of game where
its focus is the character and the story.
Sure. What was I was gonna tack on something there.
Star Trek is better, et cetera, et cetera.
No. Oh. Okay, so I think
put words in your mouth. Sorry.
So I'm excited for Star Trek Infinite. But the issue with a game like Star Trek Infinite is that Star Trek was this sort of idea of a 4X grand strategy game where you control the faction and you do whatever, right? Doesn't really fit Star Trek because what I think a lot of people like about Star Trek is like the social commentary, is the science fiction aspects, is the character the interpersonal relationships between the characters and stuff like that. Not necessarily like who's more powerful, a Romulan, attack ship or a Federation, this like that kind of, and that stuff you can
Obviously
find it in books. You can find it in, but a lot of that stuff was just in service. A lot of that stuff's just in Star Trek is in service to the plot, right? So the Federation and the Romulans are nose to nose with technology, right? Mm-hmm. So one Romulan warbird and one Galaxy class ship are like neck and neck, right? You can flip a coin, as opposed to like a Galore class cruiser from the Cardassians, where the Cardassians and the Federation are at a different level of standing because the Cardassians are not nearly as technologically advanced. So the Cardassians have to do other things to like placate the Federation. They have to do politics. They have to do espionage.
Sexual favors.
I don't know about that.
Maybe.
But they have to do other things to like keep the Federation at bay. And then the Federation is obviously egalitarian, whatever, pacifist. So they're not necessarily. But anyway, so you have to work all those things into the game. That's going to be really interesting. And they have in Stellaris, you have certain races where, and you can correct me on this, the specifics, but like there are certain races that have traits where you can't, I don't know, bomb a planet.
So like,
or something.
so when you make a race, when you make the faction you're playing as in Stellaris, you get your racial traits, and like one of them is there's varying degrees of them, but one of them is pacifist, where you can't declare wars. You can't like subjugate people.
So like the Federation would be pacifist, can't subjugate.
Would probably be like
Cardassians would be space Nazis, whatever, whatever.
Xenophobic, militaristic. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Fascistic, is that a word?
Fascistic, yeah.
Fascistic, yeah. And then the Borg are interesting because the Borg are a collective. They don't necessarily have a politics. They're just they're closer to a virus, if anything.
Yeah.
I have a feeling this is going to be heavily influenced by Stellaris, because it's Paradox's 4X space game right now. So the Borg are probably going to be a mid to late game crisis that happens.
As opposed to, and I haven't read up on it at all. There's supposed to be a bigger reveal later in the summer, but like as opposed to like a playable faction.
Yeah, it's probably going to be like one of the events that can happen in Stellaris is AI that goes rogue, creates its own military faction to, wipe the universe clean of organics because organics are impure, blah, 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 blah.
Like the Borg.
Kind of like the Borg. And it's it versus everyone, and it starts very powerful.
So you have to try and form alliances.
And during that, like, it doesn't stop anything from happening. It doesn't be like, okay, the end game is here, everyone focus on me. It's like, okay, the end game is here, and the rest of the game is happening. So those border skirmishes that you're having that are dwindling your resources. Yeah, figure it out quick because I'm coming.
Yeah, or
don't and get burned.
So you're not going to get at least I don't think you'll get the same like story depth, right? Science fiction depth that you get in Star Trek. But in terms of just like playing, just taking the ships and playing, having fun conquering the galaxy or whatever as Klingons, that'd be awesome. What was so one thing that New Horizons, the mod for Stellaris, does that I've always liked is when you play as the Federation, you get an Enterprise. Then as you go around, you have random encounters, and the random encounters are all Star Trek episodes.
Yeah.
Your captain does this, and you have to choose what your steps are. And if you know the episodes,
you can take the best path.
You take the best path because you know the path of the episodes. So it'd be awesome if they did something like that, where your ships encounter like random events, but the events are based on episodes or whatever.
Seeing how it's officially licensed by Paramount, it probably will have references to episodes in it.
Okay, is there anything? Sorry. Is there a trailer you want to talk about? 15 hours?
Yeah. PC Game Show actually had a really good game show. I don't know if you watched it.
That was one I didn't get to.
It was actually quite good comparatively. Well, the interim skits between them weren't like the greatest, but South of Midnight looked really cool.
Oh wait, is that the
concept?
Is that the one where
from Compulsion Games? Is on the Bayou.
Yeah. That did look cool.
That looked really cool.
Yeah,
its art style, its idea.
That looked cool.
That looked really rad.
The guy's playing the guitar, and have you seen this with teeth?
Yeah.
That looked awesome.
It's really, really neat. I love its style. I'm surprised more people aren't talking about what was it called? Clockwork Revolution.
Now, I did see that. I did not watch the trailer. I heard was it looks very much BioShock Infinite, but it's not BioShock Infinite.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Yes, it does look BioShock Infinite, but it so much obviously is not. So
it's like the first thing that hits your mind, and then as it goes on, there's a lot more.
It's steampunk, like that's it.
Yeah,
whatever.
Gotcha.
Metaphor Refantasio is a new RPG from an offshoot of the Persona devs, so it looks very much like Persona.
Oh, cool.
But it's set in what seems to be like a high fantasy type setting. So that looks really cool visual style. Of course, the new Xbox coming out in the new Series S. It's a 1 terabyte mono black model. The Starfield controller is one of the most beautiful controllers I've ever seen in my life.
It is very nice.
And then there was a game that was shown off at PC game show called Mariachi Legends. And that game looks rad as hell. It's a side scroller. You're a detective, like a Spanish detective who gets approached by Lady Death, and she imbues you with the powers of like the Shadow, basically, and it's like a Metroidvania, and you turn into cool. A mariachi with like swords, and you're just cutting up guys. It looks awesome.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, it's very, very rad. Path of the Goddess looks really awesome and a nice surprise from Capcom. It's a very cool, visually stunning looking hack and slash, featuring tons of yokai, like demons, Japanese demons. There was a lot to like in that Xbox show. I'll tell you what. There was a lot
to like, yeah. And I hope Starfield's good, because Xbox needs some good news.
Yeah, I agree.
And I hope all these games are good.
I agree, but those were some highlights. I know there was, of course, more highlights for me, but we got to move on.
Yeah, we can move on. Okay, so we're going to dig into this piece by Rob Fahey for GamesIndustry.biz titled In Defense of Cosmetic Whales. There's a subtitle that I'm going to read. In defense of the cosmetic whales, expensive in-game cosmetic items are a contentious issue that many developers tiptoe around, but this is the most balanced and palatable option for a modern business world. Rob Fahey of GamesIndustry.biz. Some house cleaning here before we get into the column. We're going to be reading excerpts. They don't appear in order. So like I pulled some clips out. I organized them in terms of theme or like a specific point that we want to discuss, but they're not necessarily in order. We're going to put a description, or we're going to put a description in the description. We're going to put a link to the column in the description. Please go check it out. So you can be clear that we're not like mischaracterizing anything here. Rob does also address Diablo 4 reviewers not having access to the store before launch. That's part of what people are upset about with the Diablo 4 cosmetic microtransactions, or cosmetic transactions, I guess.
Okay.
But sort of the crux of the argument is not necessarily that. And one more thing, I'm going to repeat myself a lot of bit here, but I don't really think there's necessarily there's too many ways around it, because I think this can all be drawn back to a few different counter arguments. And if you've watched my video on cosmetics or gameplay, it's actually really interesting, because a lot of the stuff here is stuff that I responded to, or like general arguments that I responded to in that video. So I guess I'm lucky, because my brain has already been there for the past month. So go check out that video, and then listen to this, and then I don't know, watch the video again.
He's playing 5D chess over here.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
All right, and then a little bit more background. So Diablo 4 has expensive cosmetics, some as much as $20. Rob writes, quote, "A cosmetic-only in-game store arguably meets most of the demands and addresses most of the concerns people initially had about the adoption of free-to-play style business models, but those stores are still loudly despised, while also seemingly being commercially successful enough to overcome fears of any such backlash. Selling cosmetic items only, albeit at a premium, is a far less obnoxious approach than almost any alternative, from locking up palatable content behind playable content behind paywalls via pay-to-win item sales, through to the grifter's favorite du jour, pay to earn, play to earn cryptocurrency based models, end quote. So the argument here is that this is the better alternative, right? This is better than free to play business models, clearly better than play to earn NFT cryptocurrency bullshit that we've seen in the past few years. So it's like, this is the, having these sort of high prices are a better alternative than having, say, pay to win items in a multiplayer game where you pay, you get a better gun, and you do better multiplayer matches or whatever. So I think this is a bad argument for multiple reasons. You guys jump in at any time. Because like I said, all of my points are sort of already loaded in the back of my head because I wrote a script almost to this very thing a couple weeks ago. The better alternative argument I don't like because it skips around the issue of, okay, but does this have to be the alternative? Because I would agree if you told me, Tyler, wouldn't you rather have cosmetic microtransactions than microtransactions that directly impact a player's skill, like a better weapon or whatever? And my answer is yes, of course I would rather have a world or a game where whatever a player buys doesn't necessarily make them more powerful, right?
Right.
But the larger question is whether that's necessary in the first place, is whether the economics really dictate that this sort of thing has to be in place. And we'll get more into that, but like I guess to start us off, that's sort of what everything is going to come back to is, okay, I would rather have this as an alternative, but where's the end of it? Where is it a necessity and where is it a luxury for shareholders, for value, for long monetization tails and things like that, right? And we'll be returning to that. Moving on, Rob writes, quote, much of the anger that this generates from players focuses on the seeming imbalance between the price for a cosmetic skin and the price for entire games. The fact that a cosmetic item for a game is priced at a level that will easily buy you a high-quality indie game or an older AAA title in its entirety, or net you a couple months of Game Pass, does make the cost of these items look faintly ridiculous. But market economics set prices according to what people are willing to pay, not what makes logical sense based on production costs. All of these games have not set their prices at similar levels just because their business model designers are copying each other's homework, nor did some scheming executive just pick out a ludicrously high price point while cackling maniacally in a boardroom somewhere. This pricing convergence happened because after a long process of testing, this turned out to be the price point that maximizes revenue from cosmetic items. This is the price that sits on the sweet spot where the demand and price curves intersect. Okay. So this is correct. Like from a capitalistic standpoint, this is correct. But again, it's a necessity versus I don't want to just keep repeating myself. What does the games industry need versus what does it just want? And I think those are two distinct things. And when we talk about this, without addressing that point, I think we get lost in like trying to find logical reasons for it to exist without just ignoring the fact of whether or not it needs to exist in the first place. And it's not like it's going to stop here. So yes, these microtransactions are set at certain prices because that's what the market value says. But it's not like it's going to plateau and stop. It's not like these companies are going to stop charging so much money because they've reached a point where they're comfortable with a certain amount of revenue. It's going to keep going. It's going to keep going higher and higher. There's going to be more things that are going to be cut off for microtransactions because that's what they can get away with, right? It's not like they're going to stop and rest on their laurels and say, okay, we're making enough. I don't think that's really the reason that they're doing this. So this price index thing, yes, definitionally it's correct, but it's just not going to stop. Am I making sense?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay.
The market having being set is also something that's kind of is very arbitrary, due to what I personally believe is outside forces. Somebody paying for a $20 skin, I'm screwing up my point here. Somebody is more willing to buy something for $20, not because they believe it is worth it, but because they're pressured from other forces outside to pay that $20. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Peer pressure, presentation.
Well, sure.
And
it's not like people are sitting down and I don't know, the nuance behind why that $20 purchase was made is not as, I don't think it's as simple as people are saying that they're okay with it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. If you went to all these people and said, hey, how about I give you that skin for $10? Who's going to say, no, I think the value of it being at 20. It's like, no. And that's the kind of executive argument that we shouldn't be making, because then the executive will push, and whomever, the market will push that five more bucks, $5 more. And just saying, well, the market, dictates that it's correct, I think is a cop-out. And it's like, do you want games to be that? I don't know. I don't think so. We'll move on to another point here. Quote, owning a cosmetic most people don't have is a flex. It makes your character a little bit unique, and for many players, there's a real value in that. If the price dropped and more people could buy the cosmetic, it would open it up to new audiences, but would also decrease the appeal of the item itself, which no longer felt rare or premium. Skins and other cosmetics are luxury items, not commodities. You could quite easily find yourself dropping item prices only to find that it actually decreases demand rather than increasing it. Okay, so this is FOMO. Do we want an economy based on FOMO? Like, again, this is a logical defense, but do we want to be making a logical defense of something that may not actually have to exist at this capacity, right? So do we want games to be based around FOMO? Is that the future of games that we want, right? Do we want pieces of a game sectioned off because companies can get away with that? Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I don't think we do want that. Now, again, from an executive standpoint, they're saying, yes, this is correct, but they don't look at the decisions they make through the prism of good video games.
Right.
They make the decisions they make through the realm of profitable video games. Mm-hmm. And it's not going to stop. Again, just because they've reached a plateau, just because the price index, or not price index, just because they can sell something for $20 doesn't mean they're all going to say, okay, we're going to stop here.
Right. No, they're going to.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean that they're going to
next time. Yeah.
It doesn't mean they're going to increase the price, but they may cut off something else. They may they may find other ways to spend money. If enough people paid for NFTs, a lot more companies would be putting NFTs in games. Mm-hmm. But people rebelled against it, so it's not there. And the only reason it's not there is not because executives said NFTs are stupid and the philosophy behind them is dumb, which is true. It's because they said NFTs don't make money. Mm-hmm. That's why they didn't do it. And so the paradigm of their decision making is outside of the paradigm of what makes good video games. Okay, moving on. Quote, games have never been cheaper. While the cost of development and of meeting player skyrocketing expectations has never been higher, nobody wants $100 games, let alone $120 or more, not consumers and not the industry. Given which, is it not a wonderful thing that those costs can instead be offset by selling some totally optional shiny virtual clothing to the minority of people who love the game enough to be willing to pay a premium for that? The other possibilities suggested by the rise of free-to-play economies were a far darker timeline. We don't have to love the existence of cosmetic whales, but we can at least appreciate that the model works, does little harm, and has kept the industry away from far less consumer-friendly solutions to its very real economic dilemma, end quote. Okay, and this is the games are expensive argument.
Right.
Which, listen, we on this show, every time the economics of the games industry are brought up, first thing I say is that it's complicated, it's nuanced, and it's not simple. And And the opinion I've always held to is microtransactions are not in a vacuum unnecessary or evil, right? It's all about how we implement them. And is the industry right now implementing them in such a way that it is 100% necessity and 100% necessary? I don't think it is. Are the $20 microtransactions and are the $20 skins in Diablo 4 a 100% necessity for Blizzard to continue operating? Yeah. Or other ways Blizzard could facilitate things to keep their company up? How much do their executives make? Do they need to be making that much money? Mm-hmm. I don't know. There's a bunch of stuff like that that I think is worth considering, is worth asking about, rather than making excuses for really expensive microtransactions. You know, I don't think that's unreasonable.
Real quick, I just want to bring up the line, and has kept the industry away from far less consumer-friendly solutions to its very real economic dilemma. I don't think this business model is doing that. I think that is the consumer doing that. The consumer is keeping things away from going to far less consumer-friendly because the less consumer-friendly options don't sell.
Well, but and even then, it's not like companies won't try.
Yeah.
EA tried to shove a mobile economy into Star Wars Battlefront 2, and they didn't get away with it. But why wouldn't they try again? And you know what? They have done that with sports games. Mm-hmm. Sports games are awash with not pay to earn, with a pay to win modes. And I mean, FIFA Ultimate Team is this huge pay to win. And the reason they do that is because sports games have a much more casual audience. They don't get covered like other games do. So they can inject those mobile, what we'd consider like mobile economics, into AAA games, and they've made the games worse. And sports games have become worse over the past few years because of how they've injected service economics. I think the line players having skyrocketing expectations is a dubious line, because again, that's something that the whether disingenuously or not, that's something executives will argue. Yeah. Well, players want 100 billion hour games with, maps the size of Neptune, and it's just not true.
And they also don't ask why they want that
exactly,
either, right?
Because that's what they keep making, right?
Yeah.
But you can point at games like Hades. Hades was made when Outer World, and again, I'm just repeating stuff from my video. When Outer Worlds was announced, it was like, hey, we're making a 20-hour RPG. Did people complain? No, across the board, people were like, oh, thank God, only 20 hours. Jesus Christ, this is going to save my life, right?
Yeah.
Nobody was like, only 20 hours? Well, I'm not. Okay, I'm sure there were YouTube comments. I'm not saying, don't take this literally, but the cultural consensus was, thank you, we're fine with this, right?
Yeah.
And, how expensive are cutting edge visuals? I don't know, but the game that's going to sell best this year, the game that'll probably win Game of the Year this year, is also the game that, when it comes to just fidelity, isn't going to win any awards. Art direction, different story, right?
Yep.
Art direction is where it's at. I think how a game runs is more important than necessarily like how it quote unquote looks, right? So. And I'm talking about Tears of the Kingdom, obviously. Yeah. Tears of the Kingdom is not gonna look as good as Starfield, but it's probably gonna win Game of the Year. And no one's gonna say, I don't think anyone's gonna complain about the visuals, because Tears of the Kingdom is not trying to outdo, super beautiful games. It's beautiful in its own way through its art direction, and that's been a conversation for a long time. Deathloop was lauded for its art direction. Elden Ring, when you got close to an enemy, all of a sudden those visuals did not get so great, because when you get close to things and From Software games, they don't look great. But from far away, the art direction, that's what matters, right? And there's a difference between pure fidelity and art direction. Pure fidelity is what matters in Forza, because every car has to look as realistic as possible, as opposed to something like Deathloop or Tears of the Kingdom. Are those things cheaper? I would imagine so, because they're older, So again, there's another of what I was trying to get to earlier. Like, we have to offset costs. Okay, executive pay. what about scaling down how big our games are?
Right.
Do our games need to be 150 hours long?
A four-year development cycle?
Do we need 4-year development cycles? Probably not. And those are really complicated systemic issues that I do not have the solutions to. I just know they're systemic issues.
Yeah.
But I also think that if we want a better industry, we should look there first and say, okay, let's talk about scaling these things down and not defending the economic systems that are pushing them further and further and further and further, right? Because even if Blizzard got to a plateau where they're like, we're making all the money in the world, well, I guess at that point they would stop because they wouldn't have to make bigger games. But anyway, the scale of games is not being, I think not disingenuous. I just think it's a bad argument to make that players are demanding massive games. Obviously, if you say this game is 20 hours long, are there going to be people on Twitter complaining? Yes.
Of course.
If you say the sky is blue, people are going to give you death threats, whatever. That's the internet, unfortunately. But to argue that like the wider culture is consistently arguing for these things, I just wholeheartedly disagree. And I think you can look at Outer Worlds, you can look at Dead Cells, you can look at Hades, you can look at a lot of games. Now there are Elden Ring was a huge game. Sure. So there are exceptions. But did it need to be that big? I don't know. So I don't think it's expectations forcing the hand of developers to make gigantic games. I think it's a much more complicated systemic issue there. I hope I'm not repeating myself too much.
Just remember, guys, executives know what they're talking about. Nobody wants to play single-player cowboy games. Right.
Yes.
Always.
I think there are some other things to address here. I've mostly done a horrible job breaking down all my opinions. I was like, I'll be fine. I wrote about this, and I'm having trouble fucking coming up with stuff to say. Okay. What about predation and live service economies? I think that's like, if we're gonna say we need these things to keep we need $20 cosmetic items to keep the games industry afloat. Right. Okay, fine. If that's an absolute necessity, then fine. But then our discussion becomes, okay, but we have to find out a way to stop predation. We got to figure out how to take gambling away. We got to figure out how to take impulse purchases away. You should not. And we read that story of the lady at Zynga. They had their VIP program with their mobile games, and they call people to make sure that they're spending money. Yep. Right? Those people may be wealthy, and they may not feel that they're being preyed on. But I 100% believe that there are AAA companies that are out there, and their goal is to try and find the people that are going to spend money on their game, regardless of whether or not that person has a proclivity to gambling addictions or anything like that. And I think we have evidence of that. I don't think that's a fear-mongering thing. I think that's a real thing. And it comes up a lot with FIFA Ultimate Team. So again, if we're going to make the argument that a lot of this stuff is necessary, fine, but part of that discussion has to be, if it's necessary, we have to lessen the damage done by predation, and we have to point a finger at the industry and say, you got to stop that bullshit. That has to be part of the conversation. Yeah, so I think maybe I've said all that I've wanted to say here. Go watch my video. I say it much better. There are two arguments going on here. There's the it's capitalism argument, and then there's the it's an economic necessity argument, which there is a distinction, right? The price index thing, which I don't even know what price index means. That's just something that came to mind. The supply and demand thing. Yeah. That is, it's capitalism, right? Right. This is how capitalism works. Shut up, kid. They're going to buy it. There's demand. Is that how we want games? Because again, they're going to keep pushing.
That's how I want games.
Things will get worse. Everyone's like, LOL, horse armor. Things are way fucking worse now. And it'll continue to be worse because capitalism does not stop. Capitalism is not about a moderation, right? It is all consuming. It's a fucking black hole, right? And that'll okay, I don't want to be too overdramatic. That'll disrupt the industry like it has. It has greatly disrupted the industry. So do you want that? I don't know. Call me whatever you want to call me. Call me a Marxist, communist, fascist, big government anarchist. I don't know, whatever. But like, do we want the industry to go down that road? And if you say no, but all this is a necessity, then fine. But is every single thing really necessary? Right? Is every single microtransaction and every single live service economy out there right now 100% necessary to keep their companies afloat, to keep things running? Or are some of them, little jacked up, have little systems in there to entice people, to manipulate people into spending more? Are battle passes designed the way that they're designed for a reason? Yes, right? So it's not like all these things are, please buy our skins, support us on Patreon with a $20 skin. That's not what's going on. Do you see the distinction there? It's capitalism is an excuse. Because, okay, fine, if you want to make that argument, but don't complain in 15 years when things are way worse than they are now. And it's a necessity is a separate argument. But again, if it's all a necessity, I find a lot of it hard to believe. And even conceding the fact, even if you sat down numbers in front of me and showed me how much each company needs, it's like, well, I don't know. What else could we do? Could we scale back the budget of games? Could we reduce executive pay? Blah, blah, blah. As I said...
To the second point, yes.
You
can always scale back executive pay.
Always.
I'm repeating myself.
Every single time.
I'm repeating myself, and I've been talking way too long. Do you guys disagree with me on anything? Be honest.
No, I mean, I would have interrupted you and disagreed with you.
You would have. I respect that about you. I 100% respect
plenty,
that
but in this case, no.
Although I do take part in the supply and demand.
Well, you do, but you're not a guy.
Here's the thing about the supply and demand of cosmetics. The supply is infinite.
Infinite, yeah.
Yes,
exactly.
And
the demand will never reach that.
And let me ask you, Richard.
Will never be infinite.
Let me ask you: are you in charge of a company that employs thousands of employees?
No.
Okay, so if you were, this may be a little bit more awkward.
I don't think so, because I'd argue with you.
but
Look, they only made 5 of these. Okay, so.
But you're not, and in your world there is physical scarcity,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And you know what? And there's only physical scarcity because, how do I put this? Okay, there are an infinite number of Final Fantasy VII copies out there.
There's a lot of them.
No, there's an infinite number.
Okay.
Because you can find them on the internet.
Oh, yeah.
But the people that come into your store, they want a very specific copy of Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah. It's
right?
the one where the eye on the word masterpiece is like a little bit up.
Yep.
That's true. That's a true thing.
And they don't just want that copy.
Yeah.
Because you could make a plastic case, print out that, make your own, copy it, print it out. You can make your own synthetic one. No, they want the one that was printed in a certain year, came out of a certain factory.
You're kind of triggering me now.
I'm sorry, but I'm correct, right?
Yes, you are.
So that is wholly separate from like the supply and demand of a cosmetic. So anyway, I thought we should point that out. Okay. We don't have any tidbits this week.
We don't, unfortunately. Sorry.
And we have no way to end the show. So play the tidbit sounder anyway.
Go play Disco Elysium. See how you feel about capitalism afterwards.
Yeah, take that. What if I told you in this world there are bits and there are tids, and Richard is the only man who can put them together into tidbits? Okay. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at the Gaming Discourse. Go to our YouTube channel, YouTube/Gaming Discourse. Just go watch my video on cosmetics or gameplay. Oh, Rob also said cosmetics don't affect gameplay. Yes, they do. Yes, they affect gameplay. When I'm playing Diablo 4 with other people, we will go to town and we will spend 30 minutes because somebody found a cosmetic that they are going to break down so that they can unlock a new cosmetic on their character. That it's the entire excitement behind that is not, this thing gives me +5 to my strength. Nope. It's, this thing has a belt buckle that I can't wait to put on my character. And you're playing the game. Dress up is part of play. And if it's a part of play, and it's a part of the game,
it's gameplay.
Then it's gameplay.
Like and subscribe to Gaming Discourse FM as well.
Oh, that's right. I forget.
It's okay.
I got you guys.
Thank you.
I've been a train wreck. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Bye.
Bye.